My fiance insisted that her work husband join our Vegas trip, so I used the projector to expose her $25,000 embezzlement right in the middle of our engagement party. I didn't confront them. I didn't burst through the door screaming. I just waited. I listened until I heard Ryan's bedroom door click shut. Then I moved. I slipped out of the covers and quietly opened my laptop. The glow of the screen was the only light in that massive, dark penthouse suite. My fingers didn't shake. I wasn't a betrayed fiance anymore. I was an auditor. Admin login, entered my credentials, opened the company books, Control F, search, R Holdings. There it was, a single wire transfer, $25,000. Approved 2 weeks ago. Approved by Jessica. I almost laughed. R Holdings, Ryan Holdings. She didn't even try to be creative. She was arrogant, she was sloppy, and sloppy gets you caught. Next, I opened Slack. I went straight to their private DM history. It was all there. He's too busy to notice. He'll never even see it. He trusts me completely. Screenshot. Save. Screenshot. Save. Next, I opened the feed for the office security system, the one I installed. I rewound the footage 2 weeks ago, 9 p.m. There they were, in my office. They weren't just talking, they were kissing right against my desk. Then I watched as Jessica logged into my desktop and Ryan started going through my physical file drawers. Download video, save. They weren't just cheating, they were conspiring. This wasn't a mistake, this was a plan. They were actively robbing me. My breath wasn't heavy, it was steady. This was just work. This was just a problem to solve. Next, I opened the airline website. One-way ticket Vegas to our home city. Departure 6 a.m., passenger Ryan. One-way ticket. Departure 6:30 a.m., passenger Michael. One-way ticket. Departure 7 a.m., passenger Jessica. 3 separate flights. 3 separate confirmations. All in middle seats. Finally, I grabbed a sheet of the hotel's expensive stationery from the desk. I wrote 2 clear sentences. Ryan, your 6 a.m. ticket is confirmed. Go home. Jessica, I'm really looking forward to our engagement party next week. We're gonna have a very special presentation. I placed the note on the coffee table where they'd see it. I packed my carry-on, took one last look around the suite, and walked out. I didn't run. I didn't look back. I was in a cab to the airport before 5 a.m. I left Vegas before the sun even hit the strip. On the flight home, sitting in that cramped middle seat, I finally had time to think. I kept asking myself one question over and over. How did I let this happen? How did I, a man who runs risk assessments for a living, miss the biggest liability in my own life? The answer was simple. I wasn't just her fiance, I was her employer. The whole thing started 2 years ago. My IT consultancy was finally taking off. I was buried in work, and Jessica, she was working a dead-end job she hated. She kept complaining about her boss, about the pay. So I made a decision. I created a position for her, office manager. I told myself I was building an empire with her. I wasn't. I was just giving her the keys to mine. I gave her access to the payroll. I gave her control of the company accounts. I gave her administrative privileges for the whole system. I trusted her completely. That was my first mistake. Then 6 months ago, I hired Ryan. He was a smooth talker, a classic salesman. He seemed like a good addition to the team. A week after he started, Jessica joked about him at dinner. She said, "Oh, Ryan, he's totally my work husband. He gets me." I remember laughing. I actually laughed. I thought it was just harmless office banter. I didn't realize it was an announcement. Then the red flags started. They were small, easy to dismiss. The late-night Slack messages, just finalizing a proposal. Honey, don't wait up. The lunches that stretched for 2 hours. We're just team building, Michael. You should try it. And then the airport. The memory of it just 2 days ago was so clear now. Me standing there, confused. Ryan, why is he here? And Jessica, her face twisting into that familiar look of annoyance, that look that said, I was the problem. She said, Michael, don't control me. His girlfriend just left him. I'm being a good friend. Then she hit me with the killing blow. You're embarrassing me in front of my colleague. Embarrassing her. I realized it then staring out the airplane window at 35,000 feet. The red flags were everywhere. I had just been too busy, too trusting to read them. I had learned a few very expensive lessons. First, the financial red flag. When someone calls your financial caution, controlling, what they're really saying is you're making it harder for them to access your money without supervision. Second, the emotional red flag. Work husband or work wife is just a polite, corporate-approved term for an inappropriate boundary. It's a way to normalize disrespect. And third, the practical red flag. Never ever give someone the keys to the bank unless you are also watching the vault. I had been so focused on building a life that I forgot to protect it. I had ignored every sign. I had dismissed my own gut feelings, all because I wanted to keep the peace. I wanted to believe the story I was telling myself instead of the one that was happening right in front of my face. That was the real mistake, and it was one I was about to correct. I spent the next week in a conference room at my lawyer's firm. I didn't go home. I didn't go to my office. I just worked. I forwarded my lawyer the video files, the screenshots, the wire transfer confirmation. We spent hours building a timeline separating my personal assets from the company's and preparing the two-pronged attack, the criminal complaint for embezzlement and the civil suit for the divorce. I didn't answer a single call. I put my phone on silent and just let the notifications pile up. By Tuesday, Jessica was clearly back from Vegas, and she was furious. My phone didn't just buzz, it exploded. 32 missed calls, 47 text messages, 5 increasingly unhinged voicemails. I finally listened to them putting them on speakerphone so my lawyer could hear. The first one was pure anger. "Michael, where the hell are you? You left me in Vegas. You're being so childish. I can't even believe this." The second one was manipulative. "Okay, I get it. You're mad. But you're ruining our trip over your stupid jealousy. Ryan is just my friend. When you're ready to apologize, I'll be at home." The third one was laced with panic. "Michael, this isn't funny. You're scaring me. All my stuff is here. You can't just abandon me. What am I supposed to tell people?" The fourth was pure gaslighting. This is exactly what I was talking about. You're controlling. "You can't handle me having friends. You're the one with the problem, Michael, not me." I listened to all of them. Not one word about the $25,000, not one word about the 9 p.m. kissing session in my office. She had no idea that I knew. She thought I was just pouting. She thought I was just having a tantrum about her bringing Ryan to Vegas and that I would eventually come crawling back begging for forgiveness. She fundamentally misunderstood who she was dealing with. Then, on Wednesday, she escalated. She sent a text. "I just spoke to my father. He is furious with your behavior. He said he's seriously reconsidering investing in your company. He said you need to grow up and meet us for dinner to discuss this before the engagement party or the deal is off." I just stared at the text. A blatant lie. David wasn't investing in my company. He never had. He had his own business to run. Jessica was manufacturing leverage. She was trying to extort me using her own father as a weapon, all to cover for her petty affair. She still had no idea about the $25,000. She just thought I was jealous. She was overplaying her hand so badly, it was almost beautiful. I looked at my lawyer. He just raised an eyebrow. "She's trying to tarnish your business reputation before the party." I picked up my phone. I finally typed my first reply in a week. "You're right. We absolutely need to talk. I'll see you at the engagement party. I'm preparing a special presentation for you and your father." She replied almost instantly. "I knew you'd see it my way." I didn't respond. I just went back to work on the slide deck. "All right, Jess," I said to the empty room. "You want a party? You'll get one." The engagement party was exactly as extravagant as I expected. It was held at a lavish country club, the kind with massive chandeliers and waiters in white gloves. It was all paid for by Jessica's father, David. He greeted me at the door with a firm handshake. "Michael, glad you came to your senses. Jessica was worried sick about you." I just nodded. "Wouldn't miss it, David." Jessica, glowing in a white dress that probably cost more than my first car, slinked over and kissed my cheek. She whispered, "See, I knew you'd get over it. You're just so cute when you're jealous." She squeezed my arm, thinking she had me right back under her thumb. She had no idea. The party dragged on for an hour. I mingled, I smiled, I shook hands with her family's business partners. Ryan was there, standing in a corner, smirking at me over his champagne glass. He thought he'd won. He thought he was untouchable. Then came the speeches. David stood up, tapped his glass. He gave a heartfelt speech about family honor and welcoming a new son into his life. Then he invited me up. "Michael, a few words for your beautiful bride-to-be." The room applauded. Jessica beamed at me, holding her glass up. I walked to the front, took the microphone. The room went quiet. I could feel Ryan's smug gaze from across the room. I took a breath. "Thank you, David. It's an honor to be here." I looked at Jessica. Jessica and I, we've learned so much about each other this past year, especially about the fundamentals of a partnership. Things like trust and finance. Jessica's smile faltered just a fraction, so instead of a sappy speech, I've prepared a short business presentation on our future. A few people laughed nervously. Jessica looked confused. I nodded to the technician in the back, a guy from my own IT firm who I'd paid extra to run the A divided by V. The lights dimmed. The projector I'd had him set up flickered to life on the massive white wall behind me. As a business owner, I continued, my voice calm and clear. I believe in transparency. Slide 1. A massive screenshot of Jessica's Slack messages to Ryan. The text was huge. He's too busy with his stupid codes to ever notice. The room went silent. The whispers started. I saw Jessica's glass stop halfway to her mouth. I was busy, I agreed into the mic. But I'm a meticulous record keeper. Slide 2. A screenshot of my company's bank ledger. A bright red arrow pointed to a single transaction. $25,000. PayER Holdings. David, her father, stood up from his table. Michael, what the hell is this? That, I said, is what I've been calling the Ryan Holdings Investment Fund. Ryan was no longer smirking. He was white as a sheet. But it wasn't just a business transaction, I said. It was also personal. Slide 3. The security footage from my office, 9 p.m., black and white. It was crystal clear. Jessica and Ryan kissing. Jessica opening my file drawers. Jessica's mother screamed. She actually screamed. And like any failed investment, I said you have to know when to cut your losses and file the proper paperwork. Slide 4. The final slide. It was a scanned PDF. The official criminal complaint for felony embezzlement I had filed that morning. The names of the accused were clearly listed at the top. Jessica and Ryan. Jessica finally found her voice. She shrieked a horrible tearing sound. He's lying. He photoshopped that. He's obsessed with me. He's trying to ruin me. The room was chaos. I held up a hand. I spoke into the microphone, my voice perfectly calm, cutting through her hysterics. I'm not lying. The bank records don't lie. The video doesn't lie. I paused and looked toward the grand entrance of the ballroom, and I trust the officers here can confirm the rest. As if on cue, the 2 uniformed police officers I had scheduled to arrive at exactly this moment walked calmly into the room. The entire party froze. I pointed the microphone toward them. Officers, that woman Jessica and that man over there, Ryan, they are the individuals you're here to speak with regarding the $25,000 embezzlement case. Checkmate. The room just exploded. Jessica didn't just cry, she wailed, collapsing onto the floor in her expensive white dress as the officers calmly approached her. Ryan didn't even try to run this time. He just stood, frozen by the dessert table, completely paralyzed. The guests scrambled to get out of the way, a mix of horror and fascination on their faces. I saw cameras come out. I'd hired 2 professional photographers disguised as guests to capture the whole thing for engagement memories. They didn't miss a single shot. The officers were professional. They helped Jessica to her feet and cuffed her. They cuffed Ryan right next to his half-eaten shrimp cocktail. The sound of the handcuffs clicking shut was the loudest sound in the entire club. As they were being let out, Jessica screaming about how I'd ruined her life. Her father, David, didn't even look at her. He just stood there watching his reputation crumble. After the police were gone and the room was half empty, he walked over to me. His face wasn't angry, it just looked old, beaten. He didn't yell. He just put a hand on my shoulder. Michael, he said, his voice gravelly, I'm sorry. You did the right thing. You protected your business. I would have done the same. I just nodded. I'm sorry too, David. I truly am. I was sorry. Sorry that his daughter was a thief. Sorry that he had to see this. But I wasn't sorry for what I did. The weeks that followed weren't a drama. They were an audit, a cleanup. My lawyer handled everything. The legal fallout was swift. Faced with the video, the Slack logs, and the bank transfers, Jessica and Ryan didn't have a defense. They were advised to plead guilty. They both took a plea deal, felony embezzlement. They got 5 years of probation, community service, and a court order to pay full restitution of the $25,000. Their careers in this city were over. The financial fallout was just as clean. The moment I landed from Vegas, my lawyer had filed motions to freeze all their assets, citing the criminal activity. The day after the party, David called my lawyer. He made a single wire transfer to my company account for the full $25,000. It wasn't an admission of guilt. It was a business transaction. He was paying to make the story go away to preserve what little was left of his family's name. He was just like me, cutting his losses. Now his daughter owed him. And the social fallout. Well, the family was humiliated, the engagement was obviously over, the wedding was canceled, and I was finally free. I had just conducted the most painful but most necessary liquidation of my life. 6 months have passed, my company just closed its best quarter on record. The very first thing I did after the cleanup was hire an external chief financial officer, a real one. I brought in an independent firm to audit everything top to bottom. No one gets the keys to my company ever again. Looking back, I didn't lose a fiance. I saved a business. My real mistake wasn't trusting someone. My mistake was giving administrative privileges to a person when I should have been auditing a partner. I confused personal feelings with professional protocol. I learned the most valuable lesson of my life from this. When someone calls your logical boundaries, controlling what they are really saying is, "You are making it much harder for me to manipulate you." That engagement party wasn't a personal tragedy. It was an emergency board meeting. It was a final presentation where I delivered a report on a failed investment. And then I cut my losses. It was the single smartest business decision I have ever made. Have you ever ignored a major financial red flag in a relationship? What's the biggest mistake you ever made by trusting the wrong person? Share your story in the comments below.